October 22nd, 1897. The Nevada Daily Mail, Nevada, Missouri. Liquor brand counterfeits. Chicago detectives unearth a den by which dealers have lost thousands. Chicago, October 21st. In a dark cellar at 1331 North Sangamon Street, lawyers, detectives, and constables unearthed what they claim is one of the largest liquor counterfeiting schemes ever operated in this country, and $25,000 in labels representing all of the leading brands of liquor bottles and cases were found. The loss to liquor dealers and manufacturers through counterfeit has been nearly $500,000. 5 express wagons were filled with the confiscated goods. In the basement, secret passages were found leading in all directions. Each one was separated by a brick wall and arranged in such a puzzling manner that a person unacquainted with the byways could easily be lost. Traces of what may prove to be a liquor and bottling still were found in this basement. November 5th, 1902. The Clinton Morning Age, Clinton, Iowa. New tipple for women. Cordial flavored with roses that tastes like the odor of the flowers. Many women at the East have taken of late to a new tipple imported from Holland and called Oil of Roses, reports an Eastern Exchange. It is a cordial in name only. It is none of the sticky, syrupy components of the other insipid cordials, but has a peculiar, almost biting taste that appeals to the feminine palate. This cordial is flavored with bride roses and is the invention of a firm in Amsterdam that was organized in 1575. A bushel of selected roses are crushed into a press, and the essence is extracted by a complicated system. This distillation is enlivened with alcohol and other spirits, but naturally the flavor of roses is responsible for the increasing popularity of the drink. The cordial tastes like a rose smells. The color is pale pink, and the distillation of Huile de Roses requires an enormous amount of roses and great care. This is the most expensive cordial on the market, a mere tablespoonful for 25 cents. The firm in Amsterdam exports this liquor in genuine Delft jugs that the purchaser retains, and the average woman derives much pleasure from taking home the tiny jug from which she has quaffed the delightful cordial. It may be said of this new tipple, however, that it induces inebriety just as quickly as a whiskey toddy, cocktail, or sour, and the resultant headaches are just as distressing. February 11, 1924, The Evening News, San Jose, California. Put red paper on your room and get a jag. Chicago, February 15. If you still yearn for a drink of real rye and are afraid of the present-day stuff, paper your room in red and the effect will be the same. At least that is what Miss Marion Gein, president of the Women's Interior Decorators Association, declared today. There is something about a red room that is uplifting to the spirit of men, Miss Gein said. The color seems to be a tonic for them. Affects them like a drink of liquor. February 11, 1924, The Evening News, San Jose, California. To raid hotels serving tea or coffee as test. Trenton, New Jersey, February 18. Hudson Maxim, scientist and inventor, today stated he had engaged counsel to take action under the 18th Amendment against restaurants, hotels, and other public places which sell coffee or tea. A prominent hotel in New York State or New York City would be selected for the first raid, Maxim stated. This raid would be in the nature of a test case of his contention that under the 18th Amendment, the sale of all intoxicating liquors is prohibited, and therefore that this would apply to all liquors which are intoxicating, no matter what is their degree of intoxication. Dictionary definitions, he said, would be sufficient to bring tea and coffee under the provisions of the Prohibition Amendment. January 1, 1927. The Evening News, San Jose, California. Local folk quizzed on rum poison. Wets and dries of San Jose may be disagreed on the issue of prohibition, but many seem to be lined up together on one side of the fence in opposition to the governmental poisoning of industrial alcohol to render it unfit for beverage purposes. A canvass of outstanding figures among the clergy and among the dry workers today yielded the following opinions. C.S. Allen. The use of wood alcohol in industrial alcohol was authorized by an act of Congress passed nearly 20 years before Prohibition. The very object of it was to make industrial alcohol dangerous for beverage purposes. Nevertheless, some was diverted into bootleg channels under license laws, and deaths occurred. Under Prohibition, the beverage use of industrial alcohol was increased, and therefore deaths were increased. Whether the government should continue to enforce the old act passed in license days is a question for the government to decide. If there is no other practical way to prevent the diversion of industrial alcohol, the government, of course, has a perfect right to use that way. It is unnecessary to discuss the question of whether equally effective non-poisonous adulterants are preferable, because this is self-evident. I am not a chemist and therefore not in a position to express an opinion as to whether such non-poisonous adulterants are available. Dr. Joseph A. Stevenson. I have hardly given the matter enough thought to express an opinion. It seems to me to be too drastic to poison alcohol, although drastic measures may sometimes be required in drastic situations. Probably some harmless drug like apomorphine might make the drink disagreeable without making it dangerous. Lucy McClintock. I am not particularly interested in the discussion in Washington between Secretary Mellon and Wayne B. Wheeler as to the plan to free industrial alcohol from poison. I do not favor any plan which will make drinking of bootleg any safer. Those who persist in purchasing bootleg should be willing to take the consequences, just the same as those who deliberately purchase any other poison. I believe that the public emphasis should be placed on the enforcement of the 18th Amendment and the social, moral, and economic benefits to be derived from enforcement, rather than on violently colored propaganda designed to cause dissatisfaction with the law. Rabbi Harvey B. Franklin. I don't believe in poisoning. There are certainly means of enforcement available which do not endanger human life. Attorney Grant Bennett. If Wayne Wheeler keeps up, the melancholy days will soon be here. Seriously, though, I am a conscientious dry, but I am opposed to the government's putting poison in whiskey to punish people. It's wrong. It's a bad example to set. Reverend Fred Morrison. There must be some way of making industrial alcohol so obnoxious that it will not be used as a beverage without making it poisonous. Why not leave the monopoly on poisons with the bootleggers?